to order for Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. It's 4 o'clock. The minutes of, do we have a motion for the minutes of the last committee meeting? Second, all in favor? Thank you. Next committee meeting date is July 11th, 2023, 4 o'clock right here. Same time, same place, same channel. And property use and parking, Mr. Corrado.
To the chair, I have nothing further to add, and I'm open to questions.
Yep. Any questions?
I do.
All right, and is it Councillor Hobbs?
Thanks, and through the chair, well, again, thank you for the report. Just when it comes to the noise complaints, and I don't have the page right in front of me, but, you know, construction premises and that kind of thing, can you just comment on repeat offenders? Like, what's the kind of cure rate for different offenders?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, roughly 1/3 of the construction-related noise complaints are repeat offenders. There is an equal proportion of repeat complainants as well that are associated with those repeat offenders.
Okay, thanks, because I noticed tickets in that category run slightly less than 10% of calls for service, I think, so that's good. And just the only other comment I wanted to make on this was short-term rentals, and there's an explanation in there regarding increased enforcement and more proactivity and everything, and I think that's a really good thing, because that can be a very annoying thing if it's not done right for residents, so thanks for that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor Wolf online, if you can tap him in, please.
Great. Thank you. Through the chair to staff, just two questions on this report. The first one is also short-term rentals. So I see on our page CS11 in figure 2 there, going from 3 last year to 166 this year. And it says at the last sentence on that page that they were resolved by either removing the listing or obtaining boarding and lodging licensing. But then on the next page, or a couple pages down, CS14, table 2, at the top it mentions that there's been 30 short-term rental offense tickets issued, or 203 for the year. So I just want to kind of connect those two together. So are the people who just removed their short-term rental listing, is it they were ticketed and then they removed it? And then the other part are the ones who obtained a boarding and lodging. Were they ticketed, had to pay the ticket, and then do they acquire the boarding and lodging license?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, each case is a little bit different. I'll begin by adding that we've seen a rapid increase in boarding and lodging licenses. Roughly there were 3 a year to date this time last year, and now we're up to 60. So we do see an increase with our proactive education and our efforts on the enforcement side to people to come into compliance. Each case is different. Certain cases where we discern that compliance can be achieved through education and warnings, we have effective results that are achieved. In other cases, there's a prior history that's at stake, and in which case it warrants one step higher in the enforcement spectrum. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all, but each case may result in it could be an education effort, it could be a warning, it could be escalating enforcement action resulting in a ticket.
Great, thank you. My second question through the chair to staff relates to the soil activity and the 46 site inspections in the month of April, including 4 stop work or removal orders. Is that with 2 full-time soil bylaw officers at this point, or are we 1.5, or are we still at 1?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, we are fully up to staff. We do have 2 soil positions, and they are able to split the geography.
Right on. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Councillor Heed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Going to our property use calls for service, Mark, and unsightly premises. You recall that I brought this up at our last committee meeting, and I wanted some division of the occurrence, whether it's north, south, east, west. Were you able to come up with that? I see what we had 89 in April.
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, we didn't discern any specific geographical density patterns from the data that we had. We could drill down further into more historical data, but we didn't see any specific hotspots that stood out.
If I may ask that, drill into that data a little bit, I just, it's got to be a marked percentage, I would imagine, and I just need to confirm it either way, that there is some division based on the geographic nature of our city. And I think you were telling us, Mark, that they're complaint-based.
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, very much so. They're predominantly complaint-based.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Galanders?
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for the report. CS10 mentions boulevard. What is boulevard? Is that people complaining about city property not being mowed, or is it something else?
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, so these are violations under the Boulevard Maintenance Bylaw. So these can be areas of people placing objects, for example, on the boulevard that shouldn't be there. There's a degree of maintenance that's required, and then the bylaw department enforces those. They can, again, generally are done on a complaint basis.
Oh, what is the most common thing that happens on the boulevard that people complain about? Garbage?
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, it could be debris, it could be someone encroaching onto a boulevard, it could be someone placing a non-parking sign on a boulevard or a cone.
This city-owned strip in front of residences, for example. Okay, yeah. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion? Second? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Animal Protection Services, Mr. Bramhill?
Just want to introduce Mr. Jeff Bramhill. He is the acting manager for Animal Protection Services currently.
Through the chair, I have nothing further to add. No, open the questions.
Okay, welcome, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Nothing? Do I have a motion? All in favor? Okay, carried, thank you. Yeah, this is going to the dogs, apparently. Okay, Richmond Fire Rescue Monthly Activity Report. Chief?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I have nothing further to add to my report. I'm happy to answer any questions for your committee.
Thank you. Councillor Heed?
Thank you, Chief. A couple things, just a few comments. It's nice to see that your response time is down by 2 minutes over last year. Good. The other point I wanted to make, albeit your medical calls are up significantly in April of this year compared to last year by 102 calls. Are we starting to see any trends? I noticed later on when you look at the data, when you look at, whether it's heart palpitations, breathing problems, or something like that, that seems to be significantly high in the city. And I'm just trying to draw some parallels. Is that that's what we're experiencing with the aging population?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, yes, that's our understanding. We're fortunate that we have a large number of people in the community who are advanced in their years, and so that is a significant call for service for us.
And my other one, Chief, is the overdose poisoning incidents. And I really like the fact that you've divided this up. And I think we should be cognizant of the numbers of indoor and outdoor. I think that's good. But just a word choice. So you got narcotics / opiates. The majority of people it's opioids that they're dying of, the chemical part of it. The opiates are the natural from the heroin-based stuff. I thought I'd just throw that out to you, Chief, so you realize it's and I believe still, based on the coroner's report, the majority of people that are overdosing and dying are opioids versus opiates.
Thank you for that.
No, thank you. I think that that provides a significant better picture for us on what's occurring in our city on the drug crisis we're going through. Thank you.
Councillor Hobbs?
Thanks, and through the chair, thanks, Chief, for the report. A quick comment on just the tables 4D and 4E. I think those are an excellent way just to portray the long-term trend over 10 years, so thanks for those. Also, on the total calls for service on page 23, the 5-year average actually shows about I think a 33% increase. So just the question is, again, is the increase in medical calls sustainable? Is it having any long-term impact on deployment? Or obviously call response times are okay right now, but it is a significant increase. So you have any comments on that?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, the increase in the medical calls is certainly one of the triggers for driving up our overall calls for service increase for this month. It's important for us to look back, though, that the 5-year average takes us back to 2019 and 2020, which we were in the height of the COVID pandemic. And at that time, our calls as first responders responding to emergency medical incidents in the city were significantly reduced as a risk management tool on behalf of our collaboration with BCEHS. So those numbers were acutely low during those 2 years. So that average actually may not fully indicate what the calls for service would have been had it not been for the pandemic impacting those calls for service. So the numbers do appear very high. At this point, I'm not concerned about the increase as far as our capacity. We do have the capacity to maintain that service level.
Okay, good. Yeah, silver lining, I guess, to high numbers. And yeah, the graph actually does bear out what you're saying on page 29. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Galanders?
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for this. On CS 28, regarding the overdose poisoning incidents by type, I also appreciate the breakdown. And I noticed that the numbers are down, a little bit, still really high, but down to 23 incidents for April 23 as opposed to 29 in April 22. But just noticing that 10 of the overdose poisoning calls were located outdoors and 13 were located inside. Is that a significant increase in outdoor calls than there has been before? Because that used to be more like 25% was outdoor calls, and now it's looking closer to 50 almost.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Galanders, I'll have to look back to see what the changes on the outdoor versus indoor calls for that, looking back year after year. We're seeing that the outdoor locations versus the indoor locations are simply where people are phoning for our services, more so than where all of those types of issues are happening. And so we respond to those calls when we're called. And so what I see right now is that of this monthly accrual, 10 were located outdoors, 13 were located indoors. It speaks to obviously where people were when they called for help.
Okay. And then on CS 31 versus CS 32, I'm just looking at the concentrations of the fire incidences, for example. And it looks like the biggest concentration, the highest density of fire incidences is sort of in the same area as the 524 medical incidences on CS 32, where the big red dot is. What's the relation between the fire incidences and the medical incidences being in the same location? Just density of people living there?
Through the chair to Councillor Galanders, you're absolutely correct. Fires are typically created by people, either through an act or an omission of something, and that's how the fire starts. And medical incidents obviously involve only people as well. And so where there's a high density population of people or a high gathering of people, you're going to have more of those incidents than in areas where there's less people.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Councillor Wolf?
Thank you. Through the chair to Fire Chief, just 3 questions that all relate to the internal staff training section on page 22. First question, are any of those internal staff positions or training certification, are any of those brand new?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I'm sorry, could you just repeat that last part again?
Sure. Are any of the positions listed in the section internal staff training, are any of those new to the service?
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, those are not new positions. However, it's either new training to originally designated positions or an upgrade of training to those people.
Great, thanks. The only one I'd like you just to elaborate, just a quick description. What is a Richmond Fire Rescue pool officer?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, when through succession planning and succession movements, staff will retire, typically at the very senior officer level in the operations section in the emergency response crews. And so during the development of a midterm firefighter to take over the role as a supervisor, they get trained as a pool officer. And so there's a pool of those trained qualified senior firefighters that are elevated to act when those acting opportunities are available. And so that's called pool officer training.
Okay, great, thanks. That's not what I thought, but that's good. The last one I had was the crane inspection training. So when we have, we see lots of cranes up right now, maybe a record amount. I guess Richmond Fire Rescue staff visits every one before they get used? And if so, roughly how long should the public expect that process to take? So a firefighter shows up, looks at it, approves it, or is it quite comprehensive to go through the whole check?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, there's two components to that. Anytime a developer or a construction company is going to be installing a crane in order to build a building in the city, they have to register that through the BC Construction Safety Alliance. And Richmond Fire Rescue, through our collaboration with WorkSafe BC, is a part of that Construction Safety Alliance. So we receive notice that crane is going to be installed on a site. We respond and do an inspection of that site for safety, for our awareness, and for our access onto the site. We create an emergency response plan, a pre-incident plan. And then once the crane is installed before it begins operation, we go back and perform a safety inspection on that crane to make sure that, first off, our crews are able to operate and work there to effect a rescue should we have to, and that the safety components of the crane are installed properly. The duration of those inspections can take a variety of times depending on the size of the site, the size of the crane. Typically, though, it shouldn't be more than a day of our time on site to perform that inspection and that survey, after which we just simply file that we've performed it and that it's successfully passed, and that's administered through the BC Construction Safety Alliance through their online portal.
Thank you. If I may, through the chair, just to follow up then. I don't think there's anywhere in the report monthly that highlights how many of those you've had to do, which is fine, I guess. But what about compensation for the service that we provide? Does the developer pay a portions for that specific task to be done, and where does that money go if there is monies related?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Wolf, Richmond Fire Rescue receives an annual allocation of funds through the Construction Safety Alliance, through the contract with WorkSafe. And when the construction teams or the construction company is contracted to do that work, they have to pay premiums to WorkSafe for the protection which we provide. And so that's all part of that program. And those monies that we receive from the Construction Safety Alliance via WorkSafe, we put towards further training and equipment to maintain that high-angle rope rescue program within the city.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Okay. Do I have a motion? Second? All in favor? It's carried. Do we still have quorum, or are we still good? Briefing. You're still up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got two items I'd like to share with your committee this evening. One is just an update on our recent Doors Open event. that we participated in with the rest of the city. Richmond Fire Rescue hosted their Doors Open event on Saturday, the 3rd of June, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., and we had over 3,500 visitors at number 1 Fire Hall during just those couple of hours. And obviously the big hits for everybody were the fire trucks and the crews, and in particular our wildland equipment and the water park, where kids could actually shoot all the hoses at targets, and that was a really big hit for them. And the second item that I wanted to update you on is our public outreach training program that's specifically oriented on an online platform towards the elementary schools. Just very recently, in the last month, we've had over 40 classes complete that online program, and that's happening across 12 different schools in within the school district here in the city. So that's a very high number of young people that have graduated from that program, that online program, and we have to thank, obviously, the teachers very much for helping assist us with that. And that really raises up the level of fire safety knowledge and awareness amongst these young people in the city right now as they get ready to close out their school year and go off to their summer holiday break. So,
Is that for the whole school or just a certain grade?
right now, those are all aimed at the kindergarten grade, and our aim is starting in next year, we're going to roll out that same online program with enhanced materials to the elementary classes of grade 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, thanks. Anything else? That was it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry? Oh, hold it. Councillor Wolf has a question,
Absolutely.
please.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair to staff, just a quick one. Is there anything at the secondary level? I know the province and Fire Safe BC provide some online platforms for them, but is there anything from the local?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, we haven't finished developing our secondary school platform yet, but that's certainly in our strategic plan.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, RCMP monthly activity report. Chief Superintendent? Welcome back.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, councillors. I don't have anything to add to this report, but I welcome any questions or comments anyone may have.
Okay, Councillor Hobbs?
Sure. Thanks very much for the report. Just a couple quick ones. Just noting the robbery on Giel, and probably targeted or associated somehow, and you're working on that. That's great. Commendable that on the robbery on Gilbert Street on the 17th, that person was apprehended, so that's a great arrest. And just regarding a couple of the other ones, kind of the same question for serious assaults with a weapon and sex assaults. You identify the suspects in about 84%, I think, of the assaults and 90% of the sex assaults, so that's great, and there's reasons for that. But just with regards to the unidentified or stranger assaults in both categories, could you just comment on that? Is anything significant happening there, or are there any at all that are stranger assaults?
Thank you to the chair, to Councillor Hobbs. If I may just quickly comment on the assaults before I get to the other two. So the first assault incident in the 9,000 block of Gale Road, sometimes an individual's criminal involvement, criminal activity brings the problem home, where the safety of their loved ones can be significantly compromised. And this is one of those cases. But we have made a good progress on this file. Suspects have been identified, and we're working on gathering further evidence to lead it to charge level. And the other one, the second one, a really good response, well-coordinated response in quickly apprehending the suspect on that as well. With your other question, with the percentages, the majority of the files, they have the suspects identified. There are some where we are still working on identifying those individuals. There's the odd stranger random type, but that's not a concern for me because those numbers are very low. But there are other investigations where we know an altercation or incident happened, we're just still working on identifying the suspect. So it's not a really significant concern to me.
Oh. Anything else?
No, that's great, sorry.
Okay. Councillor Heed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, on the mental health calls, you said 253 related incidents in April 2023. So I understand that on those are the true mental health calls. We've heard for years, and we still hear, the majority of interactions our officers are having with the public are people that have some type of mental health issue. What would you say the percentages of your young men and women that are interacting out there 24/7 with people that have mental health issues, not strictly those mental health calls?
To the chair, to Councillor Heath, it's difficult for me to assign a number or percentage because we respond to calls or unfolding events where a subject may be displaying or individual may be displaying behavior which may be indicative of some of them having some mental issues. We respond to mental health calls, then there's mental health apprehension. So as you know, where once the members make that determination that they're able to apprehend that individual. But these numbers do fluctuate. However, they remain sort of somewhat in that sort of steady pattern for us. It's difficult for me to assign a percentage to it. I hope I'm answering your question properly, but it's dependent. There are individuals where we are working with our ACT teams and helping to provide them with support services if they are willing to accept to reduce those calls. But it is a challenge that we continue to face on a daily basis.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And I know it's difficult in more of a area we have compared to Vancouver. And often we heard the Vancouver chief of police spew some data with respect to the interactions with people that have some type of mental health issues. But I just want to know if there's some parallels we can draw, using that famous word parallels, here to Richmond. But you've explained it quite good. Just moving on to hate crimes. Hate crimes significantly down, the types of calls that you're trying to deal with. I believe there were 0 files year to date. And I don't know if that's indicative of us getting out of COVID or what, but it's good to see that those issues that were significant at one particular time are down to 0 files so far. And when I look at our averages on crime rates compared to the LMD, Lower Mainland Division, we're doing well. Property crime still seems to be significant, but I would, and this is just anecdotal, I would say you've probably have more people actually reporting their property crime in Richmond than you would, for example, in some of the other municipalities. And I think that's, going to give you a truer picture. So I thought that was good. And the last question I had, and that was just a comment, the last question I had is your road safety unit. So you've got the table that looks at the violation tickets issues. Is that just the road safety unit, or is that all the members based on their TTIs or whatever they're calling them now?
Through the chair to Councillor Heath, all of these numbers are a total of violation tickets written by not just the road safety unit, but including our other officers as well.
Okay, good, thank you.
Councillor Galanders.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for the report. And the other councillors covered a lot of the big stuff. I just have one little question about speeding and how it's going with the new 50-kilometer limits in some areas that were 60. personally, I work out near Gray Bar Road, and when I go in off of Nelson Road from the 91 and I turn left onto Westminster, I saw the 50 sign. I had to work very hard to drive slow. It always sounds like I'm talking about speeding. And it just, because some roads are just kind of lend themselves to going faster. It's wide open and there's no houses and there's very few cars, and it was a challenge. And there were some speed traps set up there, and we did have a writer write into the asking that we immediately rescind our decision and make it 60 in that area again, because he thought it was a safety concern, people slamming on their brakes. I was just wondering, how is it unfolding now? Have you heard if it's still a dangerous situation there, or has it gotten better? Are people more used to it now?
Through the chair to Councillor Gallanders, I haven't heard any significant concerns pertaining to that. We do have our road safety unit, the enforcement measures along those roads, but we also have our volunteers who were set up speed watch programs just to alert. It's an education piece, and the signs are there; they are visible. And I know that the report that was submitted and the studies that were done, I mean, there are benefits to that, and sometimes it just takes a little while for those who are not used to traveling that road with that speed limit. But I think the measures, that the processes that are in place are working. And as far as any concerns from the policing, there are none to report from me.
There haven't been an increased number of accidents there or anything unsafe?
That's right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councillor Hobbs?
Yes, sorry, I forgot one, so thank you through the chair. I meant to ask you about the catalytic converter theft issue and whether that's up or down or any arrests.
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, thank you for the question. And as yourself and Councillor Heed mentioned, so these numbers, the theft of Cadillac converters, they impact on our property crime numbers. And we have been, as I have mentioned previously, we have been working with a really focused approach with Cadillac converter thefts. And the individuals who are committing these crimes, they are not all local. They are, from LMD and in this area, and we've had some good recent successes with that. A recent one being last week. We're working with our partners with Delta PD, where individuals who were committing crimes in different jurisdictions, they were arrested. So it's a work in progress, but it does impact those numbers. So we are working on that. We're looking at different programs. We're looking at the engraving program as well, working with ICBC. So that's going to take place soon. But other than that, it's it's a process where it takes time to gather information, gather intelligence, and then formulate action plan based on that. And we have, through our CompStat, through our crime reduction meetings, we have collected that information. So now it's the plans that we are going to implement and target these individuals. So it's working, and we've noticed that some individuals that we have arrested, whether if they are part of Cadillac converter thefts, they're also doing break and enters into residence and commercial B&Es and whatnot. And some of these individuals arrested and on conditions, on curfew, and obviously that reduces the crime for that time period. But so to answer your question, we continuously are working towards addressing the CATCON theft. But like as I said before, it's not just limited to Richmond. That problem expands through the province, to the nation, to overseas, right? So it's an international problem. But our teams are fully engaged and doing good job and producing good results.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because it does have a huge impact on people. I heard one person's car was completely written off. So a few good key arrests and targeting people and curfews, like you said, that'll be great.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have one more question. With the mental health calls, dementia is included in that as well, right? Because we seem to have, people go missing all the time. Some of them are young people, some are older people. I imagine the old people aren't running away from home or otherwise. So those are sort of our lost seniors. They're potentially people with dementia, other issues. And so, but it still falls under the same category.
To the chair, yes, that is correct. Yes.
Is that a significant problem in Richmond? Like,
To the chair, there are some elderly citizens who, are reported missing with dementia, but it's not a large number.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Right, we have do we have a motion? Second, all in favor? Thank you. OIC briefing.
I don't believe I have any verbals for this period, but I know, as Chief Jim Wishlove said, the open house happened recently, and it was a really good event.
Okay, and we do have one question from Councillor Heed for you.
Yeah, a very good initiative that I know you have in place. Just wondering what the response has been like from the community, that coffee with a cop?
Through the chair to Councillor Heed, it's really well received. I enjoy participating as well. It gives me the opportunity to engage with our citizens and our business leaders and listen to their questions, concerns, comments, and feedback regarding policing in the city. And our community engagement team members, they are very committed and dedicated members who really enjoy doing more and more of these events. And I think that's so important for us to continue to do so.
Great.
What else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any managers' reports today?
Through the chair, just a couple of quick ones. Coming up on Monday, GP, there will be 3 reports related to community safety. One is the Touchstone Family Services coming back to do the annual reporting. They haven't been here since the beginning of COVID, so we're looking forward to that. And 2 of the referrals from community safety will be going to GP. One is bringing back the peace officer bylaw, the designation bylaw, so that will be coming. And the alcohol consumption in public parks will be also coming on Monday.
And Councillor, do you have a question? Or are you just waving? Oh, I thought you were waving. Okay, never mind. Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. And we're adjourned. Thank you.